If we move from conductor to decision engine is in Lytics where it's all about audiences and activation. So this is where you'll find our modeling, our audience building, which we'll touch on. You'll find all of our reporting, how you sync those audiences to destinations, kind of all of the stuff that a marketer would want to do inside of Lytics for the most part lives in Decision Engine. Today, we'll touch on kind of two key aspects. First, being audiences. Audiences are unique in Lytics for a couple of ways. One, they power sort of downstream destinations in a kind of more traditional list sense. So, if I want to build a segment of users, I want to push that to my ESP, I want to push that to Google Ads or Meta. You can certainly do that. That's one of our key capabilities. But one of the unique pieces of kind of Lytics audiences that they're all built to be and updated in real time. So as a user is interacting, we're collecting that data, we're processing it, we're updating all of the segment memberships, all of the model scores, all of that kind of information in real time to surface back. And what that means is you also have the ability to trigger in real time the result of that calculation. So as users are moving in and out of your audiences, you can trigger a signal to your ESP or a signal to Slack or wherever it may be to power additional use cases, again, in real time in the moment when those things are happening, which is a really unique aspect. But here in the segment builder, you can build audiences on top of or segments on top of existing segments. You can integrate content affinities, and then you know as a power user, you can go in here and define any sort of combination of rules. If I wanted to say I want just all users that have an email address, I can do that. It's going to generate a calculation for the number of users that meet that criteria in real time. I can add that condition. And then if I say, okay, I actually want to have all users that I can email, but I also want to make sure that they have a momentum score greater than 50. So that's kind of two aspects of audiences. On top of the sync to a destination, which is an obvious sort of use case, reporting analytics is also somewhat unique, and audiences in many ways are at the heart and soul of that. In Lytics reports, you can certainly build kind of campaign activity reports, click conversions, but I would say that the vast majority of our customers get the most value from reports that are built to surface insights. So we really love to help customers drill into their data sets to understand what makes audiences tick, to understand the relationship between two segments. If I go into back into the site that's connected to the Umami account, if I go into just a simple lead capture, you're going to see a number of different components that you can configure and add. We'll walk through each of those and then we'll show an example of a composition report, which I think are some of the most powerful reports. But you can do a simple size report compared to just the size over time of two particular audiences. How are you growing? How are you shifting? Useful for things like known to unknown, consented and hasn't consented, any kind of sort of combination that you can dream up. Audience overlap, so taking two audiences, understand what's the cross section. Do my frequent users also sort of intersect with my known email users? And if I again drill into that particular segment, are there new insights that I can uncover about what content they're interested in or how they behave, where they engage? All of those kind of things can be driven by an overlap report. A composition report is unique in that it allows you to drill into the details of a particular attribute and understand the distribution of values across an audience. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but what that means is if I just do a sample distribution and I'm going to choose, my known users as an example. So right away you're drilling down into a specific cohort, a specific subset of your audience. And then if I use a field, for instance, like Lytics content, which is the field that stores all of our interests for a particular user, and I save that, you're going to see a distribution analysis for that particular audience of the topics that they're interested in. So this alone is extremely valuable. You can look head to head, how are the interests of my known profiles or my purchasers different from those that haven't purchased, or donators versus non-donators. What's more, though, is you can actually then drill into this and say, okay, obviously there's a huge affinity for milk, but is that affinity high or low, right? I might not want to support a partnership with an organic farm because people have a little bit of interest. I want to make sure that they have a ton of interest. You can actually extend this and drill down farther and say, okay, I want to look at my known profiles and I want to look content, but then I want to actually understand for milk just how interested are those folks in milk. And it's actually going to give you a distribution on that particular score for that particular audience. So you can see in this case, well, people that are interested in milk are actually more likely to be interested than they are not, right? That interest is fairly high. So kind of a simple, corny example, but you can see how this becomes really, really powerful in identifying and in driving your content strategy, not just on how you interact and how you sort of engage, but also how you build content that's going to help engage those customers kind of in the future.